All right, so this is a cell right here that's rated 280 amp hours, and we're going to build a box for that. I'm going to make it 2 of these wide, so I'll have one here and one here, and then it's going to be 8 deep to make a total of 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this, which comes to about 7 inches. And so 7 times 2 is 14. And you can see here I've got this platform built 14 inches wide. And then the thickness of it is almost 3 inches, but I'd say 2 7/8, maybe a smidge more, I don't know. But to be sure, I cut this platform to be 23 and almost a half inches. Now I messed up on this because I mismeasured it by 1 inch. So it was 1 inch too short. So what I did is I stapled on a 1/2 inch strip at each end to make up for that. And then underneath, I stapled 3 2x4s, the length of it, to be able to support those batteries. So now when I put these batteries in, they'll go right up to each edge, like so. Of course you can't see because I'm trying to video and do this at the same time. But anyway, you can see that it's wide enough that it'll hold 2 going across this way, and it'll hold 8 going across this way. Orienting the batteries is really important, but that's not what this particular video is about. Next thing that we've got to do, we have to figure out how tall the box has to be. Okay, so when we put the BMS inside the box, we need to have about 2 inches between the BMS and the top of the battery. That way we can tie our lugs on top of the battery. We can plug in our monitoring systems. And the total of this is about 13 inches, and we want to add 2 inches for the thickness of the platform. Okay, so you can see here that I've got the sides built on this thing. And what I do is I cut these 2x2s. It's just 2x4s I cut in half just to kind of save material. And then the plywood is just scraps that I had laying around. And you can see it's even kind of cut at an angle. It's kind of cool looking in a way. But anyway, this will go on there. And then that'll form the box. You can see that I've got about 1 foot to the top, which will give me enough room at the tops of the batteries to mount the BMS and the cell balancer. So that's what it's looking like so far. These are the sides that I've cut for the other ones. That's the platform for the second one. And that's the wall for this guy. So once I get these side walls all up, we'll do the end walls. All right, so now to make this where it'll fit properly, we're going to measure this bottom board. You can see that's about 18.5 inches. So I'm going to cut a board 18.5 inches wide and 14 inches tall so that it'll fit this properly. All right, so there's the 2 battery boxes completely done except for the lids. That's the bottom of the one over here because it's got the 3 boards under it for the cell support. This one here, you can see I've stapled everything together. I keep this width the same width as the inside because if I were to make this width here, then it would just make the box look a lot longer to extend it another 3 inches one way. I think you understand what I'm saying. Because you got to have this extra 1.5 inches on either side. Well, if I put it on the ends, then it just really makes it long, where this sort of kind of makes it look a little more squarish. I just like it a little better. So anyway, that's the battery box all done, ready to install cells and BMSs and cell balancers and all that. All right, so what I've done here is I've got this box all finished. I drilled 2 holes kind of in the middle over on this one end. And this end that I drilled the holes on, I put the negative of the BMS facing this direction so that it can tie to the negative post on this end. So, white being negative on these batteries, that way it'll reach just fine whenever I go to tie it down and have me a little extra slack left over. Just kind of bend it around a little bit to make it fit. So that's going to all fit really good. And now I'm going to start on the cell balancer. This is a little piece of plywood I'm going to put in between the batteries. You'll see how that works here in a minute. Okay, so now what I've done is I've taken the cell balancer board and I mounted it on top of a 2x4 that's about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 inches long. I screwed it to the side of this 1/2 inch plywood, and that is so I can put it inside the box between the batteries, and then that way the leads will have enough room. See, so there's a little bit of clearance. Not tons of clearance, but it doesn't have to be a lot of clearance, just enough so that nothing rubs. And then that's pretty much how it'll all look when it's assembled, other than the cells will all be in there.